I am Cynthia Taurai, a family dispute resolution practitioner or FDRP at Family Intermediary. Today, I'm taking time to share with you some of the settings that you can put on your Zoom to ensure client safety and privacy. I guess when I am entering into a Zoom room, I treat it similar to taking my clients into a real room. So the same sort of preps that you would do in a normal room, some of the considerations that you make before into a physical room, I have sort of sat down and thought about those as well. And the good thing is that when you set up your Zoom is that you only do it once. You set it up, and then when you get in, you don't panic because everything is sort of sorted. So to set it up for the first time, it might seem like it's a lengthy process, but I think that it's important that you invest that time. And I guess when we started using Zoom, it was, the start of COVID-19. Previously Zoom was not even considered as, something that you could do as mediators, but now we're using more of it. Communicating what you as a practitioner know that you need is important. So your IT team might be great at, IT stuff. So they know what to turn on and off, but they might not know what you as a mediator need to make sure that your sessions are secure. I guess they might not understand the complexity of the work that you do. So it's important that you articulate your needs to your IT team, or if you're tech savvy, that you go to the back end of your Zoom and put in the right settings. So I feel like as mediators, we don't, and I guess not be mediators in general, because I like technology and I'm quite tech savvy, but mediators in general don't like technology. They try to avoid it, but technology is something that you can actually use to your benefit. So I have actually put on my recording settings on my Zoom, which I normally wouldn't have on there, just to ensure that nobody records the session. But I am recording off Zoom right now, and I will be sharing my screen, which is another setting that I normally turn off for the participants. So I'll have my sharing setting on, but you can actually turn it off for the participants. So I'll share my screen and I'll just go through some of the settings that I have on my Zoom. And I guess it's not one size fit all. It'll be, sort of different for everyone, depending on what you're after. So when you log on to the back end of your Zoom, there are, these things on the left side. So your profile, meetings, webinars, personal contacts, recordings, and that sort of thing. So the area that we want to focus on is the settings, which is right here, the blue. And under settings, there's a few different headings that you can move along here. So we're going to start with the meeting settings. And some of them I'll skip through if it's not anything significant, but as you're setting up your own, you might want to look at everything. So requiring that all meetings are secure with one security option. I think this is something that's locked in. So, you know, if I try to hover over this, you can see that, you know, there is that red sort of stop sign. So I can't even go into that. So, you know, that's, you know, on my Zoom, that's just set already, but on yours, it might be different. Obviously, if you're setting up a Zoom meeting for mediation clients, you probably need to secure your meeting with an option there. So that's either, you know, a waiting room or a passcode that they can use and that sort of thing. So I'm going to move on to waiting rooms. Waiting rooms are you know, similar to a waiting room that you would have in your offices, where if the clients get there, they wait for you until your client time is ready, or, you know, and if it's a shuttle mediation, as you know, clients will not actually sit in the same waiting room. They'll be in two different rooms. The waiting rooms here for Zoom are obviously separate rooms, so both your clients will sit there. That means your clients don't get into the Zoom before you do, which is important because you sort of run the process as a mediator, and you want to ensure that when you start your mediation session, that your clients know what the expectations and guidelines are. So if they go in there before you, they start talking, you know, who knows what could happen before you get there. So you want to make sure that this waiting room setting is on. And here, I've said it that, you know, everyone goes in the waiting room. And I noticed something recently. I don't think this feature was on here before, but you can actually customize your waiting room. So here, I've changed the title of the waiting room. So welcome to Family Intermediary. Your host will be with you soon. There is a limited number of letters that you can use here. So I guess you've got to be succinct. And you can put a logo and description or a video as well. And there are certain settings that you need to make sure that the video is set to. So make sure that you read this carefully, because I attempted a few times to upload a video and it didn't work. So you've got to make sure that it's the right settings. And so that's that. I've set it up. So edit options. So here I've set up that all people go in the waiting room, but there's a few other options. But for mediation, I think everyone going in the waiting room is probably the ideal setting that you want to have. But you know, if you wanted to do something different, users not in your account go in the waiting room. Users who are not in your account and not part of your waitlisted domains go in the waiting room. So for me, it's everyone. Right. Meeting passcode. I always have that too. So I'll have the waiting room, but I'll also have a passcode for my meeting. So, you know, you can, you know, change that passcode, obviously, to ensure that your account is secure. Now, when you actually send out the link for somebody to get in, essentially what happens is that the meeting passcode is encrypted onto that link. That's why, because I always used to wonder why people just, you know, click on the link and they can get in. It's because the passcode is actually on that link. So when you click on that link, you're almost saying, you know, obviously I would send it to the people that I want to get into the Zoom, and Zoom, you know, believe that they're the authorized participants to get into the Zoom. So I guess be careful who you send that link to, because essentially you're giving them the passcode to get into your Zoom room. Require passcode for participants joining by phone, so you can add that. I don't know why you would need, but I guess when I was going through this, I was just looking at it, even if they'd asked the question before, because these seem to be the same question. Excuse me, if my answer is yes, I would still make sure that I put this on. So embedded passcode in invite link for one click join is exactly what I was trying to explain earlier. So the passcode is embedded in that link. So it's encrypted and it's embedded in the link. All right, now, I'll keep going down. Host video. So I have my host video on when I turn on Zoom, and you can also have the participants video on straight away. So it won't ask them, do you want your video on or do you not want your video on? If it's important for your meeting to have the participants' videos on, then it will, you know, automatically do that if you set it up here. All right. The audio, you can set up telephone and computer audio if that's what you want to set it up to. You can just have telephone. You can also just pick computer. I always pick telephone and computer. Allow participants to join before host. No, you don't want that to happen. So you want to put them in the waiting room. They wait for you there. You don't want them to join before you do, so they wait. Okay. Enabling personal meeting ID. You'll notice that on when you're setting up a meeting, you can either just use your personal meeting ID, which is a generic number, or you can create a meeting ID for that particular meeting. So I guess for security purposes, you can have this on, but when you're actually setting up the meeting, I think it's ideal to set up a new meeting ID for each meeting, so that, you know, especially when you have passcodes that are like, you know, maybe the date of the month when you start that meeting, you just want to make sure that, you know, you're securing your meeting a little bit more. Using watermarks, I don't use those. Upcoming meeting reminder, you can have that. You can mute all participants when they join the meeting. Because I've got the wait room, I don't really find that necessary, but that's something that you can actually do as well, I guess, as a buffer to having the wait room. So maybe clients might see each other, but they can't have a conversation. So that could be worth turning on if you think that's useful. Chat. Now, I've had this on and off at different times, depending on what I'm doing on Zoom, but there are times when I actually have the chat completely off my Zoom settings because I'm not wanting people to chat. Having said that, you can actually control who chats to who. So it says here by default, allow participants to chat with everyone. So that's that. I think there's another setting down, or is it? No. Okay, so here. So, so they can chat to everyone. They can chat to no one. Host and co-host can chat to each other. And obviously the participants in that case will not be able to chat to each other. But I believe there's another setting as well somewhere that sort of says participants can chat with the host. They can chat with everyone, but they can't chat between themselves. And I'll show you when we get to that. Hopefully, I am correct. Oh, this is, okay, the next one. So private chat. Allow meeting participants to send direct messages to other participants and allow webinar participants to send direct messages to other panelists. In this case, I have disallowed this because in mediation, I want to be able to see what, you know, or hear what my clients are saying to each other. I guess we want to avoid a situation where maybe clients are triggering each other and you have no idea, you know, they're sort of chatting between, you know, behind the scenes and you don't realize it at all. Saving chats, you can also save chats in Zoom. I have deactivated that just for privacy and confidentiality. So we don't want the participants to be able to save the chats when you finish the meeting. Sound notifications when somebody joins or leaves are probably useful to some, but I don't find that useful at all. Send files via a meeting chat. I have deactivated that. So hosts and participants can send files through the in-meeting chat. If I ever were to activate this, I would only allow the host to send files through chat. Yeah, but at the moment I have that off. Something for you to consider whether that's something that you want to have. You can have a co-host in your meetings. You can have meeting polls if you're, I guess, setting up for classes rather than in fact, you know, as mediators, actually, there might be some useful tools that you can try and incorporate around polls. I guess just being creative with some of the things that you can use through Zoom. I've mainly used polls in classes where I might ask a question, you know, how much have you understood this question? You know, 5 is, I really understand it. 0 is, I'm still struggling. So if there are questions that you might want to ask in a mediation setting, you know, and make it more interactive, like you would use a whiteboard or something like that, maybe you might use this feature. So something, again, to consider. Meeting survey. So you can have a survey at the end of your Zoom meeting. So if you think that's useful, again, you can turn that on. Screen sharing. Only the host can share a screen. That's my preference. I don't see why a client should be sharing their screen. And because, you know, when you're preparing for your mediation session, you've sort of thought about what not to have on your screen and that sort of thing. Participants might not have thought of that, or others might have, you know, a lot of things on their screen to trigger the other participants. So for that, I only have the host sharing. All right. There's a few more sharing options there, but because I've said no to sharing, I'm not going to go through those. So when you're sharing your screen as well, somebody can write sort of notes so they can annotate what you're sharing. I've only allowed the user, so the person sharing, to annotate on their notes. So just to make sure that, you know, we've got one person sort of managing that. You can use a whiteboard in Zoom. I haven't found it to be that good. For some devices, you can't really show. I think it was coming out as white on mine or something like that. There was just something that was not working for me that I decided not to use it. I just share my Word document, and, you know, write notes on there. My client can see that, and that's that. But if you prefer to use a Zoom whiteboard, it's available for your use. Okay, more sharing stuff, but I have turned that off. Non-verbal feedback, for you to slow down, speed up, you know, that sort of thing. I've allowed that. Meeting reactions I've also allowed, so thumbs up, and that sort of thing. But again, for mediation, you might want to have those off. So I've mainly put those on for groups, and that's really helpful. Allowing removed participants to rejoin. I can't really see a situation where you remove a participant, because you can always put them in a breakout room if things go bad. So this is just a feature where if you wanted somebody to come back that you have removed, you can either turn this or on off. Right. Allowing users to change their name when joining a meeting. Some people will have that disabled, but sometimes people are using a friend's computer or something like that, and then, you know, that's the name that shows up. So allowing them to change is a feature that I normally use, particularly with groups. Allow participants to rename themselves is the same thing. Sometimes the questions or the features seem quite repetitive. So, you know, if you wanted the same thing, you know, you would just keep answering to the effect that you were after. Hiding participant profile pictures in a meeting, that might be useful, because you don't know what picture is going to pop up on your screen. So if you think, you know, it's something worth having, hiding a participant's profile picture, then I've got mine turned on. Breakout rooms, really important. Allowing hosts to split meeting participants into separate smaller rooms. I'll put that on. You need that, you need that. And I guess if you're doing a shuttle, then, you know, that's, you know, your sort of bread and butter for that meeting. Allow hosts to assign participants to breakout rooms when scheduling. I haven't actually use this feature yet. So when you're actually scheduling, you can assign a participant a room, meaning that when they enter your Zoom, they go straight into a room. They don't go into the main room, they go straight, which is a good feature. Allow hosts to broadcast messages to participants. So if your participants are in breakout rooms and you're in the main room, you can type something and then it's broadcast to them. So it might be your, you know, normally with, you know, when you're running groups, maybe you've got a question that you're wanting people to discuss. you do it that way. Allowing remote support to participants. I haven't used this feature, but I think it will be a good feature where somebody's failing to maybe their volume, their audio, something is not working on their end. I haven't used it, so I'm not quite sure how it works, but yeah, I think it's a good feature. All right, let's see what else. Virtual backgrounds. If you wanted a professional looking background, you can put your logo on there. So you can upload your virtual backgrounds on the actual Zoom app. So yeah, you know, maybe you don't want to show your home and that sort of thing. Filters are the same as well. Okay, now is there anything else important here? I'm trying to find the really important settings that you might need. This is an interesting feature where you can actually stop incoming video on your client's device. So if your client is using their phone, for example, that means if you have this turned on, they won't be, you know, they can turn something on their side. That means, you know, no one can video call them from elsewhere and that sort of thing. I haven't used that feature, but I think it's something to consider. Now, I normally have my recording off, so generally this is off. So when a cloud recording is available, notify, post, and all that sort of thing, no. Get a notification when my attendees join the meeting before me, yes. I want to know if the client is sitting there. Notify host and participant if the meeting is cancelled, yes. When the host is changed, yes, you might want to have that. Yeah, so these are sort of generic, not really anything to do with safety and confidentiality, but they're there. Right, now what I want to move on to is recording. So that's having that record button in a mediation Zoom is one of my pet peeves because I guess you're telling your clients that, you know, the meeting is confidential, you're talking about privacy, and you've got that record button where somebody could just literally just hit that button and record. And if you're not paying attention, I know that when you're recording, you know, people can see that you're recording, but sometimes you're so busy and you might not be paying attention. Maybe you're writing notes or something to that effect, and you just miss it. I've been to trainings before, and some of the trainings are actually trademarked. So, you know, people were not supposed to be recording those sessions, but somebody pressed the record button. And because everyone is confused, they're looking at the button and thinking, are we being recorded? You know, did somebody mention that we're going to be recorded? Everyone is confused. Sometimes people will not actually mention it then if they notice that they're being recorded. So really important that you just disable the feature. Why not just get it out of the way and make sure that nobody can record? So because I'm using Zoom right now to record, this is on. Generally, I would have that off. And when you turn that off, all these other options come off as well, so they won't pop up. Cloud recording off, allow recording, recording sharing off, automatic recording off, IP address access control off, You know, all these recording settings, sorry, I would just have them off completely. Require passcode access require passcode to access shared cloud recording. Yes, if ever, you know, I have that, but yeah, generally I've got my recordings off anyway, so all these recording features I would have off. Obviously, you've got to read because it could be something to protect, like this one, require passcode to access shared recording. So that's something to protect. So I'd have that on because it's not promoting recording. Play notification when you're recording, so for all participants, and ask host to confirm before starting to record. So these are just additional buffers, just in case I forget the recording button on there. When somebody starts to record, it will ask me, you know, before they start recording, and all participants will be notified that they are being recorded. There were also some features here that required phone-only users to press 1 to consent to being recorded, multiple notifications for phone users when somebody's recording. Just remove all the recording settings for mediation, I reckon. That's what you want to do. Audio conference, that's not important, but you can set the conference settings to Australia. I've put in here, you know how all the phone numbers come up, and usually it's the US. So in this case, I've now set it up to Australia. Masking participant phone numbers in the participant. So if you've got your participants showing on Zoom, I believe sometimes the phone numbers might show as well. So if somebody's calling from a phone number, and I think this is mainly for audio, just in case maybe your video doesn't work and then you end up using audio. So what I've done here is to mask the phone number in the participant list, meaning that it just shows, you know, maybe the last 3 digits. So I've said yes to that setting. All right. I think, is that everything that I wanted to go through? Okay, I don't have any collaboration devices. And then Zoom apps. So that's pretty much it. The main things are the recording tab, which is the second one here. So settings, recording, remove, recording. Screen sharing is another big one. So you don't want your clients to share their screen. Or if you do, then you want to have that on. I don't see why you would want your client to share their screen. I would think that you would want them to vocalize or verbalize whatever it is that they want to discuss. So have host only share their screen, only the user who is sharing to annotate, so I can sort of scribble on my screen that I'm sharing. And I think this is mainly on the whiteboard as well. And I guess the other important one is having their videos on is important. Passcodes, waiting room is another big one to make sure that's on, and everyone is going in the wait room. You can customize your wait room to make it fancy, have your logo and that sort of thing. And yeah, I think that's all. So I guess, you know what I wanted just to say, as you know, the last thing I say is for us as mediators to not just limit our skills to a mediation room only. I guess we have to start thinking outside of the box. Think where technology fits in with what we do. How can we actually benefit from using technology? Sometimes it's saving the client from, coming into a center, if that's important. Or it might be safety concerns where mediation is on the verge of becoming unsuitable, but with the use of technology, maybe you can actually manage that session a little bit better because your clients are not sitting in the same room. You can use the mute functionality, you can use waiting rooms. So embracing technology is one thing that we can use to further develop our skills as mediators. And fiddling around with settings like this is also, important. That's what I always do when I've got new technology in front of me. If I join an organization, if I buy Zoom, I sit down and I look at the settings and I read through, okay, do I need this feature? Do I not? So if you're working for an organization, I guess pushing through to make sure that you get the features that you might not know where to set up the features, but having discussions with the people that set it up is really important, and letting them know what you need, and then they'll be able to find it and set it up for you. But I always find it useful when I actually know where things are. So, when I can go to the back end of my own website and, the client's on the phone and I can say, okay, I'm going to set this up for you. I'm going to set this discount up for you right now, and you can use it now rather than waiting for the IT guy to then set it up for me. It's just so much easier. So embrace technology. It's only going to further your mediation practice. So that's me. I am out. Thanks for listening. I hope this is beneficial for someone. If you have any questions, more than happy to have a conversation with any mediators out there that need a hand in setting up their Zoom. So I know that not everyone uses Zoom, but I would imagine any other platform that you will use will have similar settings that you can play around with. So just have a play and see how you go. Cynthia, FDRP and Director of Family Intermediary.